Howdy, Howard here. Rabbi Leonard Helman sat down with me one-on-one in 1974 in my family's piano room on Patricia Drive, a cul-de-sac, a neighborhood filled with more Jews than not, households, accomplished physicians, and department store owners like Horn's department store. Anyway, Rabbi Helman sat down with me. I was about 10 years old, and that was the same year Wheeling's Temple Shalom merged with the synagogue in Edgington Lane, eventually leading to Rabbi Helman, unfortunately, leaving his congregation and then moving out west and becoming a judge and a rabbi in New Mexico. What a shame. President Richard Nixon was on his way out of office that year as well, disgraced by the Watergate scandal in 1974. Pardoned, eventually, by President Gerald Ford. And my dad led the effort to combine the two Wheeling congregations, Reformed and Conservative, into just one congregation. My dad said it was unprecedented. That's what he said. Must be true. Anyway, he was proud of that. My Uncle Sylvan and Aunt Marie had just been killed while flying in to celebrate my sister Leslie and Sharon's dual bat mitzvah. Sylvan attempted to pilot his small aircraft through some very severe weather, and they didn't make it. The bat mitzvah went on, and the bodies were eventually discovered about 10 days after the plane went missing. I find that to be quite odd. 10 days. They may have been living for some time in that plane on the ground. Anyway, it took 10 days to report them missing and find the bodies. Rabbi Helman, I clearly recall, explained to me, as I said, a 10-year-old boy, that it was natural, Howard, to feel that it was my fault that Uncle Sylvan and Aunt Marie had crashed and died. I sat and listened. Didn't understand. I barely knew my aunt and uncle, and I distinctly remember thinking to myself how odd it was for my rabbi to say this to me. It did not connect inside my brain. And over the years since then, I've talked with my family members and pieced together a few background details about my Uncle Sylvan. Apparently, during World War II, he served our country in the military. As an engineer, he helped build communication lines in Europe. And that is where and how he met his wife, Aunt Marie, in Belgium. His eldest son, Sylvan's eldest son, Eric Franklin, a gifted carpenter, told me that his father was a brilliant, intelligent man who could be stern and somewhat difficult to get along with, at times. And my dad, Norman, who was the youngest brother of the four, Sylvan being the oldest, my dad shared with me his memory, and very specifically, Dad, as a young boy, just had wanted very, very badly to learn how to play the piano. And as Dad told the story, I could not help but detect some serious resentment in his voice. And Sylvan had insisted that Dad learn to study a different musical instrument instead of the piano. Later in life, knowing this, I helped my father buy an electronic piano at World of Music in Erie, PA. I lived there in Erie for over a decade, and I actually lived above the music store with my roommate, who then, his name was Bill Smith. Anyway, my dad said he couldn't quite get the hang of it playing the piano. It was very frustrating for him, and he admired people greatly who could master playing the piano, even more so after he tried and couldn't. Anyway, I guess his brother Sylvan's instincts were dead on, after all. And sometimes, I say, we don't gain an appreciation for the guidance we received until its wisdom is revealed well down the road. Shalom. That means peace. Hello. And goodbye. Just as a side note, Rabbi Helman never married, and he never had children. He lived alone with his dogs in New Mexico as a judge and a rabbi. And in the 90s, he did officiate at my oldest sister's wedding, and he got a huge laugh when he began the ceremony by saying, he said, "I always knew that I was going to marry Leslie one day. I just didn't know that I would be the one conducting the ceremony." Bittersweet. Anyway, that marriage didn't last, but anyway, she had a boy and a girl. She's retiring now from her work as a physician in Rhode Island, and she, along with the whole family, has suffered greatly the repercussions of disturbed, dysfunctional family. It's a shame. And shame is the most powerful weapon ever to manifest from the minds of a man's imagination. Shame. More powerful than a nuclear bomb. Shame. Shame on you. Anyway, we all have enough of that to go around. Let's be proud instead. Proud. I see. Howard out.